Welcome to the Dana Grant Show, where heart-centered stories, authentic connections, real talk, and real action come together. I'm your host, Dana Grant. I'm a life coach, speaker, and believer in the boundless power within every one of us. Each week, we're diving into raw, transformative conversations that not only spark healing, but growth and unshakable clarity. Because you know what? Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard, and your purpose is waiting to be fully lived. You're in the right place. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where I have, for the second time, Erika Rothenberger in the house, because our first time, the first time we taped, and you know, I'm all about trusting the process and alignment. It not only disappeared. First, there was no audio, then it disappeared. So it looks like we are meant to like quantum leap, because where we taped before, we have quantum leaped. So welcome to the show. Welcome, Erika. Let's do this.
Let's go. I am so excited. You know what I always say, second time's a charm, right? Like this is going to be
Absolutely.
audaciously amazing. I can feel it.
Well, it's so funny because you said your number, you just did that new number. I looked up and it's 2222 that we've been on, and you said it was 22. You know, what's so interesting is we've been talking that long, and we should have taped, because it was like pure gold. Like I always say, when you pull the curtain back and you have those conversations, it's so connective. And you are so connected this year to what you're doing. And I'm going to go back and dive in to where you were, where you're at, and how connected you. I mean, you connected the dots, and you made it your mission, not to build, but to heal, And we're going to start there. You came into the world wearing a hard hat. Let's talk about that. Tell me what you do, where you've been, and then we're going to go into what happened and and how you expanded. I just want to know, I want people to know that anything and everything is possible, and
Ah,
you illuminate that.
well, I love that. I love starting there. I love starting with the foundation. Speaking of construction, when you start with the foundation of what we're all about, like, hey,
Yes.
listen, we can form anything, right? Why does every house look different? Every building looks different.
Yeah.
Because we're all not meant to be the same structure. And Dana, I just want to thank you for having me on your show today. This is like so
Mm.
exciting. I've known you. I love you. I just love all the things that we're doing. And, you know, I didn't come out of the womb with a hard hat, but pretty close
I was going
thereafter.
to say pretty close, because I don't know. There's something about you. Your parents probably said, "Wow, this one here is going to do a lot."
Yeah, well, and you know, I'm an Aries, I'm a firstborn, I'm in a fiery red, so that will
Yeah.
explain a lot to you, just to start with. And I grew up in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the good old Pilgrims landed in 1620. So I always say the foundation there was the Plymouth Rock, right? But you
Mm.
know, fast forward a little, went to school as a civil engineer. My grandfather was a mechanical engineer, my uncle was a mechanical engineer, and I decided in seventh grade that I was going to change the world
Mm.
and go into engineering and be one of the few females in that, you know,
Yeah.
that classroom at Villanova. And, you know, I fast forward now 2 decades later, and I'm like, wow, I still own a hard hat. I still have my steel toe boots, my vest, my gloves, and all of the other things. So, you know, I will tell you, I
Mm.
graduated with this great degree from Villanova University, and I was supposed to go design, you know, skyscrapers and buildings. And
Yeah.
as I started interviewing, someone said, well, what about construction? And I said, construction? You know, this isn't where I was meant to be. And I will tell you, from the day I put that hard hat on and walked onto that first job site in Elizabeth, New Jersey, not a place that you want to necessarily ever be hanging out, but especially at the age of
Yeah.
22 with a blonde ponytail on
Yeah.
an old landfill. And I look forward
Mhm.
now, you know, through the trajectory of my career and where I've been in the industry, started two women empowerment groups because of it, because, you know, we only represent about 10% of the construction industry, yet
Yeah.
we
I was just going to
represent
ask you, 10%.
51% of the population,
Yeah.
right?
I can't even imagine what you had to overcome emotionally in that world. I don't ever like to say a man's world, but that was construction. We don't see a lot of females with hard hats coming on as a boss babe. And that's, you know, I'm going back to the 80s. You remember when everything was like boss babe? You know, I never say slay anymore, because I think that the boss babe should be slaying. They should be like flowing. But that being said, you showing up, what got you through that?
Hmm. You know, I think it's like anything, how we get through anything in life. Sometimes we look back and we're like, how do we get down that road? Or how do we get from A to B? And I
Mhm.
truly believe it's what I call it now. It's our audacity muscle. It's the muscle that we have built from time to time. And every time we get a setback, it's building a little bit more of that resilience in us. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't always fun. I'd be lying to you, and it's all throughout my book that there weren't moments in the ladies' room that I found myself, crying almost on the bathroom floor. There weren't moments that I wanted to throw the towel in. There weren't times that I wanted to walk off that job site and say, I don't belong, because there was many times that I felt that way. But I think it was those exact reasons that actually propelled me forward, Dana.
Mm.
Sometimes it's that resistance that actually propels our growth in such quantum leaps. Like, tell me I
Mm.
can't, and watch me, I will.
Mm. I love that. And as I love that because often when there's resilience, there's this massive lesson that we need to learn. And I'm always like, there's resilience, we must pay attention, but we can't keep hitting the same door. But you didn't. You almost, I don't like the word reinvented, but it was like a crescendo. You kept expanding, you kept growing. Tell me about that. Here you are. I'm a hard hat. I'm a boss babe. I'm on these construction sites. This is my career. I love it. I'm wearing like stilettos and diamonds and I'm blinging and I'm wearing my hard hat. I mean, talk about the polarity, the swing, but you blended it and you made it look effortless. But what did it take in the growth process to keep expanding and learning and growing? You didn't just stay there and say, oh, this is my life. Most people do. Let's face it. How many people, especially in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they were lucky to get a factory job and they're like, I got a factory job. I mean, and those were good back then. I'm paid well. I've got pension. I've got retirement. I'm going nowhere. Just that analogy, and that was the analogy and still is. If people have those things, that security, what they think is security, but you didn't do that. You went a little bolder, a little bigger. Tell me
Yeah,
about that.
and I'll go back to the whole foundation, right? Like sometimes building, like we have a blueprint in front of us. And in chapter 4, I talk a lot about this, Dana, about like,
Mhm.
listen, like a blueprint isn't always supposed to be exactly followed the way that it is. And I think sometimes, especially like my generation, like we grew up thinking, hey, listen, you go to college, you get a good job, you work 40 years, then you retire
Yeah,
if you're lucky, and maybe you'll go and have a condo in Florida. Nothing against any of that, right? But what I
right.
realized is I was like, there's something so much more that I'm supposed to leave in this world. And, I'll say it was really, I think my having, two amazing, beautiful children, Drew and Adeline,
Mm.
ages 9 and 12, they were the first like real catalyst to me be like, what type of legacy do I want to leave? Like, how do
Mm.
I want to be remembered 3 generations from now? How do I want them to describe, their crazy zany mom, Erika Rothenberger, and what did she do?
Mm.
And how did she leave the world a little bit better? We have a 1 in 400 trillion chance of even being on this earth. Like
Yeah.
God, the universe, they didn't create us to be small, right?
Mhm.
And what I realized is I was actually playing a little small. I know you say, the glitz and the glam, but like that came kind of later in my life. I felt that I was always living this bold life that way, especially being a woman in that industry. But it really was then 3.5 years ago when truly, the punch hit
Yeah, I
and
was gonna
I
say the
real
fire, the embers, kind of you turned up the gas. But wouldn't you say, Erica, that we have to find our stability and our even comfort zone in order to recognize it? Because if we keep moving super fast, we're not learning any lessons, and
right.
it's just like a fire trail, and we're like, and we're just burning it all.
Yes.
I love the fact that you acclimated, you paid attention, and you're like, you know what? I'm open to more. And I think
Yes.
that is a pivotal moment when we're like, not that it's not enough. I'm so grateful for everything, my college, my work, but you know what? I'm built for more and I'm open for more. And then God steps in and says, "Oh,
Yes.
did you say you're open for more? Well, giddy up. Let's turn the flame up."
Yes, yes, let's heat it up. And it reminds me of like boiling point, right? Like at 211,
Yeah.
the water doesn't boil, and at 212
Yeah.
it does. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
just small incremental little things. It's not that I have to do these drastic things, but it's making the decision to go from the water that's not boiling to boiling. And
Right.
where is that gap? Where is that gap in your life right now that you're listening right
Yeah.
now and you're going, I have that gap. And I felt that way. And I was like, wait, I should be super happy. I'm married. I have two beautiful children. I didn't have a white picket fence. I don't know if we had a dog at the time, but like, life looked good.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes I think we settle for good. Right. And
Yeah.
I always quote Jim Collins, good to great, but I say great to phenomenal. Right.
Yeah.
Like most of it, everyone that's on your podcast, I know they're already great. Like, how do we go to phenomenal? How do we audaciously expand to where we're
Yeah.
supposed to be?
And let's for the listeners that are listening right now and saying great is amazing. It isn't that we're judging and it's like it's not enough. We're not coming from a place of lack and
No.
scarcity. We're coming from the heart-centered action of expansion that I am built for more. And I think that what I always saw in you was I'm built for more. I'm open to the opportunity. I'm calling it in and I'm going to take the action to make it happen. Let's
Yes.
talk about the stages of yes, I'm built for more. This is amazing. I'm grateful for it. I'm connected to source. God's in the house. I have beauty. You do have beautiful children. I've got a great husband, beautiful children. I'm doing all the things, but what rubs up against a lot of people is the judgment, the self-judgment of why do you want more? Aren't you satisfied with what you've got now? Talk about that. Were you satisfied? What tripped the wire of, you know what? I'm built for more and I'm not leaving this, but I am like expanding. For all the women that want more, I want you to talk about giving yourself permission to do that
Yeah.
without shame and guilt. And was there shame and guilt when you did it?
Yes, yes, yes. To all of the questions you just asked me, and I'll kind of
Yeah.
unpack that a little, Dana, but what I will say is we have to remember that we can be weighed down by all the check boxes and the things that we are supposed to do or need
Yeah.
to do. And that can feel heavy. That can feel like I can't put one more thing on my plate right now. But when we choose to add the weight to the area that we know we're intended to expand, I know some of your listeners are listening right now and they know that thing that they want to do, right? And it could be, hey, listen, I just want to start exercising again. It could be, hey, listen, I want to start defending time to go on date nights with my significant other. It could be, hey, I want to write the book or run the marathon or be the CEO or whatever your goals are. It doesn't matter how big or how small, but there's something in you. We're human that we want growth. We want to expand. We want to evolve because when we don't grow, we don't change. And when
Mhm.
we don't change, we typically like that's where we just feel that we're just in this state. And I felt like I was just in this state, not a bad state, not a good state, but there was something that was missing and I couldn't quite articulate it.
Mhm.
And that's when I just decided, okay, I did really start within me. I had to believe in myself first and really say, okay, Erica, what is it that you really want? Like, what
Mhm.
is that missing piece that makes you feel unsettled? And I don't think that's a bad thing. Some people are like, oh, when someone feels that way, maybe they're having a midlife crisis. I say, no, it's a midlife awakening. It's
Yeah.
finally saying, hey, I'm actually, don't just have to follow this perfect trajectory of this career. I can follow this career and still be really good at it, but I can
Yeah.
do other things that bring me the passion.
Yeah. Oops. I can be grateful for everything I've built, but I am open to the evolution of growing. So you talk about the want, and so you open up, you claim it, there's a want, I put a stake in it. How do people give themselves permission to take action? And where did you start to take action because we know it's not the micro, it's the, it's not the macro, it's the micro, it's the day-to-day habits. And you said something very brilliant. I always talk about the 1 degree. If we're off, if I'm a pilot and I'm flying a plane and I'm off by 1 degree, I'm off by 360 miles. So it's the small things that we do in the day-to-day. It's the accountability, it's the showing up and recognizing. But where did you recognize you needed to take different action to get the results? And I mean, we obviously can't see where we're going. You probably didn't know, and we're going to jump there next, that you were going to create this summit and this book and this evolution. It wasn't like, I'm doing it all now. What did you do
Right.
first? What was the first step for the people that are listening and saying, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do? And maybe their tapes are like, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the degree. She's different. She's audacious. She was born with a hard hat. She was born with more. Talk to them about what you
I mean,
needed to
I
do.
first want to just draw the level playing field. I mean, there's not a week that goes by that I don't have imposter syndrome. There's not a week that goes by
Yeah.
that I don't have self-doubt. There's not a
Yeah.
week that goes by that I feel frustrated, like with like, hey, where I've been and where I go. And I can say that to people, and you can go look at my Instagram feed or go look at my website and be like, oh my goodness, she must have it all together. No, let's just like edify it and like just put ourselves all on that same playing field and be like, it is not easy when you decide you want to make something change, right?
Yeah. But one thing
Change
you do
is
have,
uncomfortable.
yeah. Well, one thing you do have, and I'm going to acknowledge, from someone who knows you and sees, is you show up.
Yep.
You show up and you always show up. There's
Yep.
never any excuses on your workouts. And of course, let's face it, you have mad skills when it comes to social media. You just tend to lean in, and someone who knows you in taking courses, and you're hungry for knowledge. If you
Yes.
don't know it, you're going to show up and you're going to learn and you're going to implement. This is
Yes.
big.
And I have a method that I use a lot. And it started like just the simple things that you can put into play today, tomorrow, right? And I call it my 3-3-30 method, right? Every day I
Love
take
threes.
at least, yeah, I know the first, and I should be 2-2-2. But I take that first like 3 minutes of your day. And if it's 4 minutes, if it's 8 minutes, you take your time. But just so you have some sort of, benchmark, and really just focus on yourself. I pray, I read my meditation books. I make sure I give that fuel to myself first. And then
Yeah.
physically, pen to paper, the next three is writing down three very specific things that I was grateful for in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Very specific. Don't go, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for food on the table. All that's great, right? But when you make it so specific, I am grateful that I got to pick my son up from wrestling practice last night because on our ride home, we got to have a conversation about math class or, about a struggle that he's having. And because I truly believe the more that you're specific, the more you're going to find that in your life every day because we are going to have the setbacks. We are going to have the hard days. But if you start your day and end your day with that practice, I promise you, your mindset will change. You don't need 18 masterminds or go to therapy every day. Like, all that stuff's great. I do that stuff too. But I will tell you, this is a practice you can put into play every day. And then that last 30, right, is the 30 minutes that every day you are going to make an effort to work on that thing, that burning desire, that thing that you want to do. Maybe it's that 30-minute walk. Maybe it's starting that first page of that book. The consistency of it, right? That's
Oh,
2% of
it's
your
so
day.
so so funny. I
36
just
minutes.
I just wrote down consistency, and what I witnessed with you is good, bad, or draw. You are consistent with your prayer, your meditation, your workouts, how you show up in the world. It's kind of like what's oh, there was someone in the army that said, "Make your bed every day; it will change your life."
Yes.
It was so
Yes.
simple. Like, who was that said that?
He did a keynote too.
Yeah, he did, and it's like,
In his
but he,
white suit, like he was
yep,
in the
yep.
Navy, like,
Yeah, I can see it.
it's gonna
But
drive me
it
nuts.
something as simple as that. You're like, how can making my bed change everything? But your consistency, I'm praying, I'm grateful. This isn't complicated stuff. This
No,
isn't rocket science
no.
stuff, but this is high vibrational stuff that will call in enormous abundance,
Yes.
enormous peace.
And then to get it to make it a habit, the consistency that then builds
Yeah.
the habit that when you don't do it, it feels uncomfortable because for the first 30 days, it's going to feel uncomfortable doing it. But
Yeah.
then after not, 30 days, 66 days, whatever the
Yeah.
magic mark is for you, you
Yeah.
will start to feel uncomfortable not doing it. When I don't get my workout in, when I don't read my books, like, because there's
Mhm.
days I miss, right? Or days I'm
Yeah.
traveling, don't have all four books with me or whatever it is, and I'm not consistent. I don't put the pen to the paper, right? I feel off. And that's what it should feel like. It should feel like,
Mm.
and again, I'm going to get a little raunchy here, the fuzz on your teeth when you haven't brushed your teeth in too long. Hopefully
Yeah.
it doesn't happen often, but like
Yeah.
it feels yucky. Like that's
Yeah.
how I want you to get, like to the point that you're like, I need to be doing this for me
Yeah.
to
Love
to
that.
expand.
I love that. So here you are, and we're gonna like not warp speed, but you're being consistent, you're building, you're learning, you're open to learning. All of these practices are in play. And then you go into the market, you park your car, and you have a massive trauma. Let's talk
Mm,
about that.
mm. Yeah, Dana, and you know what's so ironic is the day that this happened was just a typical day, a day
Yeah.
like no other, a day that I just expected to go to work with my
Yeah.
hard hat and steel toe boots in the back of my car. My
Yeah. I'm
husband's
driving, parking my
driving along,
car, getting
husband
out.
husband's in Kansas City. Two kids were with the sitter, 6 and 9 years old. I go take that last sip of Himalayan sea salt water in my car. I'm in just a
I love the detail. I
right
took the Himalayan sea salt water. I got
because
all
I
my
think
practices in play, and then life goes boom, boom.
I read something on Instagram that like, it was going to give me a glowing complexion or something. So hopefully it worked for a few years. The next thing I know though is,
Yeah.
again, just a normal day. I go and take that sip. I go and take that last deep breath, before you just get out of your car and you're ready to like just handle the weight of the world. I go and
Yeah.
gather my belongings and I opened my car door in the parking lot where I'd worked for 10 years in a town that was very safe, in my opinion. A
Yeah. You're
town
safe.
where, yeah, like it
You were
wasn't,
secure. You were in your
it wasn't
zone.
two
You're
o'clock in the morning. It wasn't some precarious place that I had never been. It was a place that I felt very safe
in the middle of the day.
in the middle of 10 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Well,
And
for
as
me, that's middle of the day.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
go to open my car door and there he is. You see, it was a man I had
Yeah.
never seen before.
Yeah.
I quickly asked him, Sir, can I help you? And as the last word came out of my mouth, no words came out of his mouth, but his fist hit me as hard as it could in my nose. He grabbed me by my hair and he threw me to that asphalt pavement. He proceeded to punch me 5, 6, 7 more times. But at that point, like I wasn't even counting, Dana. I literally just felt like a rag doll, biting, screaming, trying to do everything I could just to crawl away to find safety.
Yeah.
And in a place that I'd felt so safe for the last decade, I felt so unsafe in that moment.
Yeah.
Screaming, yelling, kicking, everything I could. And as I tried to crawl away, he came from underneath me. And as I saw the crease of his elbow, I knew what was up against me next, that he was going to put it under my throat.
Yeah.
And he did. And those milliseconds seemed like minutes, thinking, was this going to be my last breath? Was this the last moment that I was going to be the mom to Drew and Adeline? The last time that I would be able to be the wife to Andy?
Yeah.
And he squeezed as hard as he could until I blacked out. Luckily, again, by the act of the universe, God, wherever your belonging, belief is, I was able to get to my feet. And I remember feeling so disoriented, not knowing which way to go, but seeing my
Yeah.
office building. And as I looked over my shoulder, he was in my car. I ran with all of my might, not knowing if he would chase me, run me over, had a gun. I had no idea what my next few moments would look like. And as I screamed on the top of my lungs as I walked in that office building, he actually ended up fleeing by foot. burying himself in the local marshes.
Right.
And I ended up getting rushed to trauma. The next 48 hours were an utter blur. Absolute utter blur. But what I didn't know, Dana, is this man had been in prison for 12 years. He was let out prematurely after assaulting 5 prison guards. He came to Philadelphia on June 15th. He assaulted 5 women before my attack. 4 women the night before, and 1 woman that morning who he raped. And to this day, I honestly wonder if it wasn't for that act of me being able to run and make sure that we could find him in the marshes that day, what the case would have looked like.
Yeah.
But I'm here to say that like so much good has come out of it. As tragic as the story sounds, and the blood and the videos and the detectives and the 11 court cases, I finally just rested this with its final like
Right.
nail
Yeah.
8 weeks ago. He
I
finally
know.
got his
And
final
I'm
trial.
looking at the years of defeat and the manipulation and the court. That was just the beginning
Just the
of a
beginning.
life-changing moment. And then you were thrust into the court system and the delusion and disorientation of justice. And you were a fierce, and I'm going to say this, advocate
Mm,
for yourself and for other women. You wouldn't let this go, even though they're like, we're going to just like settle. You weren't going to settle here.
nope. And there was
Yeah,
nothing was gonna back me down because in that
no,
moment, that was where
nothing.
I decided to put the weight. It would have been easy, Dana, for me
Yeah.
to say, I'm gonna let this go away.
Life is busy. I'm going to be grateful for my children, da, 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 which is what we do,
And we
but
repress
not
it, we push
you.
it down, we try to forget about it.
Yeah.
Oh, but believe me, what I recognized, Dana, through this whole thing is I had done that for years with other things because I went to
Ooh,
my first therapist, and there's a
ooh,
story in my book, and I won't go into the whole thing, but she actually asked me to describe, to draw a
mm,
house. It was one of our first exercises, and I
oh,
remember looking at her so frustrated, fearful for my life, and not wanting to be in her leather chair, in her,
right.
bookshelved office, and she asked me to draw a house. What I didn't realize is that symbolism of when I drew that basement, that dark, dingy, cluttered basement, and when I described it to her, it wasn't until sessions later I realized that that represented so much of the trauma that I had decided to push down. And I couldn't do it this time because trauma will creep in its worst, most crazy ways.
Yeah.
It's like water. It will find its way out if you don't deal with it.
I was looking at my charts that I keep on my desk for grief and stress, fight or flight, and I was the 5 stages of grief. You were shocked and denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I think that we wait for these stages, but I think they all intertwine like like micro moments just coming like I can't believe this happened. Oh my God. What are people we're in and out of it, but you managed to identify, which is what this is why I think it was brilliant. And I think when I say the universe is always working for us, not against us, is you took a core, you went all the way back and did the work, and you went back to the core wound. I'd been stuffing, you know, trauma and grief and down for years. And this time, this I'm breaking the code, and I'm going to rebuild at a level that I would not be available to me had this not happened. When I always tell people, be grateful for it all, they're like, well, this happened to me. Should I be grateful for that? And then I break it down. Would
Yeah.
you be doing this if that didn't happen? It doesn't mean we want it to happen. It just means we have a choice to take the
Yes.
lesson and
Yes.
what are we going to do with it? Are we going to build a house in that parking lot? I say build a tent sometimes. You got to go back and visit and see, have I healed? Have I like gotten everything I need out of this to learn? because
Yep. And if
that,
you're listening to this show right now and you have a setback, you're in that dark place. You're
yes,
in a place that you feel like a victim, where I
yeah,
wanted to be a victim so bad. Why did this
yeah.
happen to me? Why did God do this to me? Why am I here? And you know what the catalyst was
Love
when
that
I,
you just said that because we're in and out of victimhood too, but we got to catch it and say, oh, wait a
yes.
minute. This did happen to me, but I am not a victim. And we hear advocates say that we see it on the show, Dr. Oz, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not a victim. They can't have my life. Talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I love that you're bringing this up because I will say that we have a choice, right? And I had a choice
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yeah.
When I say that everyone's moment is different. Mine may look accelerated to you of when I was able to make this decision in my head shortly after the incident happened. But just like death, we all deal with it differently. So my trauma and your trauma are different, but
Yes.
we've all
Yeah.
had it. Every
Yeah.
single adult has had some trauma in their life, right? As much as we don't want to admit it, it's there, whether you pushed it down or whether you talk about it. And I will remember so distinctly, it was about 72 hours after the incident happened. And I was in my hooded sweatshirt, wanting so bad to be the victim. The tears dripping
Mm,
down my face. It was the first day I was home from the hospital. The wounds, everything trying to heal itself. It was this beautiful day. And I remember my 6 and my 9-year-old in our pool, and I heard their laughter and their splashes.
mm,
And I said, what would I tell them? In
mm,
that victim state, do I want them to have a mom who is a
mm.
victim?
Yeah.
Do I want them to have a mom who is a survivor? Yes. But do I want to leave them with the legacy that their mom was a thriver and did something so bold with it
Right.
to leave a legacy for them?
Yeah.
And that was my gift. It wasn't
Yeah.
about me anymore. It was about those four beautiful eyes knowing they were going to be watching their mom because our
Wow.
kids watch what we do so much more than what we say.
Wow. Truer words were never spoken. So here you have this epiphany, this moment where you decide victimhood isn't going to serve me. It's not going to evolve me. It's not going to move me forward. It's just going to keep spinning me in, trying to figure out a different outcome. Even questions like, so for people that are listening, victimhood looks like this. What have I done wrong? What could it, nothing, nothing. You didn't
Right,
do anything wrong.
right.
You just were the wrong place at the wrong time. Everything,
Yep.
so it's what we do with this. And I love the fact that those eyes looking at you and what comes next, because I was looking
And
at, my,
Gina, I just want to pause you there for a moment too. As
yeah,
much as even to that, to like be like wrong place, wrong time. I'm like, I was actually right place, right time because I look at where my life has changed in three and a
yeah.
half years. I don't know if I
Good
would have wrote
pivot.
this,
Great
if I
pivot.
would have
Love that.
wrote this book, if I would have started this summit, if I would have
Yeah.
been on I would have joined a mastermind and been able to meet you. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like we look at this and I am guilty of it still to this day, being going back to the victim side. So I don't want you guys to think that I run my life like, oh, I'm always a survivor and I'm always a thriver. Like life is freaking hard sometimes.
But you choose it. Let's talk
You
about
do.
the fact that you feel it, you visit it, but I choose to be victorious. I choose. And this
Yes.
is what you did next. I
Yep.
watched you choose. Not, the big picture of what you've created is the macro. But if I go to the day to day, what you chose, the habits that supported you through this is the consistency of your choices. I
Yep.
get up, I'm grateful, I write, I work out, all the things that you don't have to do.
No,
But
no. And I could have just stayed like, again, working in the same office building, doing the
yeah,
same thing. And like, there would have been nothing wrong with that. And that
no,
could be someone's choice. And that could be
yeah,
their thriving choice. That's
yeah,
fine. For me, I just decided I knew
yeah,
I needed to go make an impact. And I don't think there's anything
yeah,
better in life than when it comes full circle. I think so much in our younger years, we think it's about me, 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 me. And then when we start looking about like,
yeah,
these legacy leaders about like just leaving the world better than you found it and making an impact.
yeah,
And I always say, one of my keynotes, I talk about being the light, right? Like we
yeah,
actually hold up a tea candle. We talk about
yeah,
the light in this room and the energy in this room is so great, but it's what we do when we leave this room because the
yeah.
world can be such a dark place. Life are we going to impact? And when you can impact one person's life
Mm,
in one keynote, one speech at a time, that's when you start to make that difference. And whether you're a keynote speaker or you're just talking to people, doesn't,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
doing as an
Yeah,
example.
we could even break it down to just the day-to-day kindness. You come up to someone on the street and you say, hello. How many times have we seen just by saying hello? And who was it? Not to pivot, but this is relevant because what you said on a larger scale, this is your life, the keynote, and you're there to make change. You're there
Yes.
to influence. But there was someone who in San Francisco, and I'm going to paraphrase to make it quick. They were walking and they said, if one person says hello to me, I'm not going to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. If one
Yes.
person acknowledges me, I'm not going to do it.
Yes. Yes. I totally remember that case study.
Yeah, no one said hello that day. How difficult would it be? And I want people to think about this. How difficult would it be to get out of your own way, your own, like my coffee was cold or whatever it is that day that didn't make your day great, to just say hello to someone when you
And
open
there's
the door.
also another story that, so we're referencing two different stories that like
Yeah.
actually the person someone said hello and they wrote a book on it.
Yes.
That
Yes.
because that
Yes.
person said
Yeah.
hello,
That
they
pendulum.
chose
Yeah.
not to jump.
And yeah.
And now they go and do a keynote on it and remind people it takes one. And I always say, listen, the doctors, the nurses, like all the people that were there to
Yeah.
support me were phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you know what it was, Dana? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, what really saved me, it wasn't the detectives, it wasn't all the therapy sessions. Yeah, those were all ancillary and part of it, but it
Yeah.
was human connection.
Yeah.
It was women like yourself. It was my best friends who drove hundreds of miles to be by my side the next
Yeah.
day. It was my sister who jumped in the car to make sure she was by my bed. It was my husband who jumped on the plane to
Yeah.
make sure, with no internet service, having no idea what was going
Yeah.
on in trauma, to be by my side. It was
Not showing
women.
up to fix it or give a solution, but
No.
just to connect and hold space. This is so relevant. We were talking earlier about 2026 and what's needed, and you don't have to be a psychic to realize that everything that in 2025 we need to leave behind, because what is needed for 2026 is simplicity and connection, not being more clever, not being bigger, not being, I just did a keynote and they said, someone said, I can't believe you did that. It was a smaller group. And I'm like, what is, I had to sit with it. What does that have? That would be about me. I'm not coming unless there's hundreds of people no, I will show up and connect. And that room of 50 or whatever it was so powerful. I can't stop thinking about it
Yeah.
because it was about connection and interaction. And it wasn't any upmanship. It wasn't like, I'm going to sit here and talk to you, then go in a green room and hide behind, go behind and have no access. You know who I am. I'm always going to give access because this is what changes life, the connection, the stories that we tell up there. And then we listen to other stories
Yes.
that have been impacted. And I imagine you tell that story on stage because I know you do a lot of keynotes and have people say, something happened to me or my sister or my aunt. I mean, we both know that's
Or I'm dealing with domestic assaults right now that like,
yes,
they just can't, like they can't come out as
yes,
openly as me, right?
yes. But they
And
could
talk about
share
it.
that story and connect with you, which is so cathartic and so healing. I'm so passionate about this right now because I know what 2026, what is needed and where this pendulum is not only going to swing but land. People
Yes.
aren't going to tolerate this bigger is better and elusiveness. I mean, there
Well, in a world that we have AI and people can write our scripts and do our keynotes and like
yeah,
literally we can have robots literally, you
yeah,
see some of this and let's face it, we've all used it and I believe in technology. I think we should be, but we
yeah.
can
Well,
never,
we should
ever,
definitely be
ever.
aware of technology. We should definitely be aware of cloning AI, all the things that are accessible, available. I mean, I just sent my daughter a video and I'm like, look at this. She goes, Mom, that's AI. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 that lion. And she goes, Mom, it's AI. And I'm like, no. But it was a wake up call for me that it was
And
so
that's why I
real.
don't think we can ever get
Yeah,
away from the belly to belly, face to face
no.
conversations
And
that
that's why
we're having.
2026, we're going to find ourselves in rooms that are smaller, more connected. It's going to be a game changer. And I mean, you heard it here first. And I think that let's go. You went to that. You then next decided to make a movement, not an event, a friggin' movement. Not a lot of people have an event and have 180 people or 200 people
Yeah.
show up for it
Yeah.
in Philadelphia. Talk about that.
Yeah.
What was it that lit that? Here the fire's lit. It's you're turning up the heat, not on the world, on you. You're putting more demands on what your stretch goal there was like, I'm stretching, I'm showing up, but all my practices are in place. I'm ready for this.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I mean, it was a figment of my imagination. I'll never forget, Dana, because it was almost a
Mm,
year ago to the
mm.
day that I made the decision, literally, and made the commitment. I think it was like a $500 deposit on the hotel that I was going to do it at. I had this vision that I was going to do a summit, right? Like I had no
Yeah.
idea. I'd never run
Yeah.
something like this. I had never done anything like this.
Yeah. I
And I
remember our
just
original
had
conversations.
this calling to
Yeah.
say, and I'll never forget on Christmas Eve, we actually, the church that we go to is very close to where this place is, and I brought my kids through there, and I remember we came down the hallway. My husband, I said, just tape us walking. My daughter had this beautiful green dress on. My son with his red sweater. I was like swinging my arms around. I'll
Yeah.
share the video with you. And I remember telling
Yeah.
them
Great.
like that we were going to do this summit. And they were like, a summit? What do you mean? Like we're going skiing? And I'm like, no. And I could already feel it. I already knew what it was going to feel like that day.
Mm.
And now 12 months later, on October 17th of this past year, I had 180 sold out, every seat taken, people on the wait list.
So funny. I didn't know it was 180, but look at I dropped
I
in and
know.
said
Oh,
180. Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create a movement, a space. I didn't want to create a workshop. I didn't want to create a
Yeah.
conference. I wanted it to be a place where the feedback that's come back from it is every single person I've talked to so far, and I'm sure there's always going to be one or two that didn't feel this way. Were like, I felt like I was almost in my best friend's living room. Like the
Yeah.
energy and the
Yeah.
feel and the community in that room was
Yeah.
so different than anything I ever experienced. And it was a day filled with speakers and content and energy and love and uh, actively, having our Audacity activated, where everyone put up their one thing that they were going to
Yeah.
do, not 20 things, but one thing when they left that room.
Yeah.
And the best
Claiming, pouring, them leaving, just
And the best
feeling
part about it, Dana,
powerful.
was when it was like, just like I talked about the tea light before, it
Yeah.
wasn't what happened in that room. It was the stories when I left that
Mm,
room, and I left the
mm,
movement that day saying, it's what happens when we leave here. I had a woman who went back
yeah.
and, she's always wanted to be a keynote speaker. She reached out to 10 places. She landed on 3 stages. I have another woman who's decided she really needed to write this letter to a significant other and tell him that it was
Mm,
time, to part ways. And she not only wrote it, but she went and got the lease on the apartment that she knew she needed to do for years. It was the woman who decided who was going to go up to her room that night that saw three of the women having dinner together. She said because she was in that room that day, she asked and invited herself to dinner. They not only sat there for the next 3 hours, but they went to yoga together the next day. The woman who wanted to be, you know what I mean? Like just the woman who was like, said, I felt so uncomfortable coming to that conference, but I knew I was supposed to be there. And she goes, I felt so uncomfortable showing up, but I felt even more
mm.
uncomfortable because I couldn't zipper my pants that day. She went home and lost
Oh,
8 pounds in the first month.
oh, wow.
And like again, whether it's the whatever that is, and sometimes when we add that weight, it's actually releasing the weight that's not serving us.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And being inspired, whatever it is that what once again, you lit that fire, that candle, and then you just that torch, and at that point, it was a torch. And
Yes.
then you lit everybody's candle. And they took that and they ignited their own life, which is what I think are the most powerful events. That they can keep that burning with the fuel and the food that, this is what I think getting in the room is all about.
Yes.
So
It
you
goes
do
back
this
to the connection we talked about before. You can never replace that. Like the
nothing.
reason I am on this podcast is because you and I
Yeah.
met through connection in a mastermind, but like our
Yeah.
connection would have never been the same if we haven't met belly to belly. And we've had,
No,
whether it's sitting at a bar, whether it was, you know what I mean, it's watching you do
no,
a phenomenal keynote, whatever it was all
no.
of those interactions with each other.
Oh yeah, and it just keeps connected. I mean, we just keep. I mean, literally running into each other, which is there. I don't believe the universe is random. God's always in control, but he brings us together. And, everything is, if nothing is random, that means, is it deliberate? Is the universe deliberate? No, it means that it's very guided. And you were very guided through this journey. And the people that are listening, men and women, I want them to know that if there's a dark moment right now, I want you to think about Erica's dark moment. She didn't know if she was going to live, and odds are pretty good that it wasn't in her favor. But look at where she is now. And this is why I really wanted to talk about this story is you came into the world, you put a hard hat on, you had your career, you had your stability, and you just kept choosing growth, expansion. Not like I'm going to do an Audacity and I'm going to it's okay to do that. There's people that come in the world and say, I'm going to be a famous actor, but what is it going to take to get there? And you broke it down. And what's so important is you broke it down with consistency. What we do on a day-to-day basis builds out our life. And this is what got you to this big attract. I mean, you attracted all that. And then you decided, you probably was already in the works, to write a book. And I keep writing this book down. I always wrote Audacity, but it's audacious expansion. You held
Yep.
space for the expansion. Oh, let's hold that up. There we
Well, this isn't
go.
the actual cover of it, but I actually have
Yeah, I've seen the cover. It's
yep.
beautiful. Oh, there we go. There we go. And you know what? When is this book available? You know?
So February 22nd, and what I will say, talk about expanding. I kind of expanded double fold. I know was
Yeah.
writing the book, actually I finished it a few weeks before the summit. So I was writing the book as I was doing the summit. Don't recommend. Don't
I
do
was
that
gonna
in the
say,
future.
if anyone's
Not a good
listening, that
idea.
might be a lot. But you,
You
you
and
but
you know
you're
this is
built for a lot. You're built for it.
I know, but at some point we have to decide, especially, you know what I mean? That, hey, listen, when is
Yeah.
too much, right? Like,
I
but
love
the
that you
beautiful,
clarified that.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I look back and in hindsight, I'm like, what was my rush? The book was going to come out. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
what was your let's slow down around that. What was your rush? And for the people that are like, that's too much or she's moving too fast, what do you have to say to that? What was the rush and what do you have to say to that?
yeah, well, and it's an area of my life that I actually still work with my trauma therapist today.
Yeah.
So some people after, they're whenever we usually all have some sort of vice, right? Some of us go shopping, some of us resort to alcohol, some of us it's drugs.
Mhm.
For me, it's producing and working, right? Like, and
Mhm.
it's just I get guilty of it. I fall into that trap. I
Yeah.
know it's an area I have to work on.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I produce the book and the summit, that's like I get double credit. And looking back, I'm like, I was
Ah.
doing that for me, and
Mm.
that wasn't the right reason. Now, I will
Mm.
tell you, I am so proud of this book, and I cannot wait for it to get into the hands of the readers because it also comes with a free downloadable journal. Because I truly believe it's the
Mm.
action, the end of every chapter, it asks you to
Mm.
activate that audacity. And I truly believe it's the action that you take and
Mm.
really, when I look back at it, it's because I want this book to get into the hands. So I did feel a
Right.
rush. I did feel a rush in some way, in an unselfish way, that I want people to have this. So on 222,
Mm.
and my favorite number, the tattoo that I got on my wrist this past year. My book ends on chapter 22. The last page of the book is 222.
Mm.
And I will be honest with you, I did not plan that. I literally, after it came back from the editor, that was the last page before the bibliography. And I was
Wow.
like, this is crazy, yet
Well,
not
this is
crazy.
alignment. This is guided
Yes.
alignment.
Yes.
Love that. I love that. We're going to give everybody the link. Hopefully, we have a link for the book and the
Yes. Oh, yeah,
date.
you can buy it
Yeah.
already. It's already on Amazon, Kindle, hard copy, paperback.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, we're going to give them all of that because I think it's a book worth reading. Because your story is so full of the life.
Ebbs and
We have
flows.
this linear life. This we think it's just linear, and it's this up and down, peaks and valleys, ebbs and flows, and the choice that you made to keep staying the course is what I love so much. So
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so what's next? I mean, best-selling, da da da, na 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 na. Na. I mean, here I'm just going na 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 na. For those of you that are listening and you're not watching me on YouTube, I've got my fingers up going na 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 na, because she's just. I can't wait to see what's next. What's next? Are you doing another summit? What's next? What
Okay,
are you
so
doing?
definitely we're doing another summit. So that's going to be on October 16th of next year. So I'm so excited about that. I can't wait to have you in the room and so many other people in the room. It's going to
Yeah,
be absolutely phenomenal.
phenomenal.
The book's
Yeah.
coming out. I'm really doing a lot for Women History Month in March
Mm.
because I really believe that this book has to be put out to the world. I have like this women empowerment, especially being in a male dominated world of construction. I feel it's so important. And Women in Construction Week is the first week of March, and International Women's Day is the first Sunday of March. So I'm doing quite a few like different keynotes and opportunities, some, public, some virtual talks on this, meet the author, and I'm trying to follow your advice more, Dana. Say I'm going to let it unfold the way that it's supposed to this year. I have a couple
Oh,
things up my sleeve that I'm working on behind the scenes that I'm not ready to put out to the universe quite yet.
yeah.
Um, because they're only half baked, but a lot of beautiful things coming.
Love that half baked. Erika Rothenberger in the house, audacious, motivated, honest. I love everything about how you're showing up. And I've known you for quite a while now, and I've watched the evolution. And I love the fact that you're so open to not just this radical accountability of your life, but you're committed. You're committed to, I always say when we know better, we do better. You're committed to always doing better, paying it forward. And it's almost like I leave no stone unturned. And I love that commitment. And that takes a commitment. It takes a commitment to not only you, to, when we want to better ourselves, but a commitment to paying it forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up in the world. It's what the world needs in 2026. I mean, like I always tell people, you don't need to be just psychic to figure out what the world needs in 2026, where we've been, where we're going, and listen to that voice. You listened and you chose the healing. And again, your greatest power, and I see it in action. You are like your greatest power is the right to choose, and you are like in action, choosing. And it isn't about choosing all the right moves, but just make a choice.
Yes.
And if you fall flat on your face, what we just simply get back up, you know, and we keep going and we say, what's the lesson? What do I need to know? I always say, instead of the lesson, I always say, what do I need to know? It is like a quantum leap field. What do I need to know? What do I need to know? And I can see that with you. What do I need to know? What do I need to know? How can I attract? Last question. You pulled in 180 with the waiting list in that room on your first event. How did you do that?
And I would love to tell you, I hired this marketing company. I hired a PR company. I've never contracted
Yeah.
with either.
Yeah.
I actually, it was all word of mouth. Like it was really
Yes.
all my social media, talking people. It was the consistency. It was every day. I decided for a solid month, I was going to reach out to 10 people a day.
Yeah, that's
And
what I want people to
in
hear right now. I want to slow down around this because the people, I mean, I speak at a lot of events and they're hiring huge marketing. And I'm like, wait a minute. This right here is what creates enormous success. So
I
go
and
ahead.
I didn't quite frankly, and so if you're listening to this, I didn't have the budget to have $75,000 marketing like campaign for this. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to do this. Like the right people showed up because of it, because the
Yeah.
voice messages of
Yeah.
saying, I want you in
Yeah.
this room. I would love you here. It was saying, hey, I would love this company involved with it. It was aligning. And quite frankly, once you start doing it, people just started flowing in. I had a woman who I'd never known come to me and say, I want to be your platinum sponsor. Didn't know her name, didn't know her company. And like, it was like out of the blue. And I like remember coming home being like, did, I don't have the check yet, but she just agreed to be my platinum sponsor,
Attraction.
right?
We show up at a vibrational level that's clear, clean, and honest, and we attract. You didn't knock down the doors. I love that so much. And I'm hoping that this is like vibrating at a level that people understand that this wasn't like this is a true story.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean,
it's like
I
I
did
want to
this on a
stamp on it.
shoe
Like this is a true story.
on a shoestring budget, a wing
Yeah.
and a prayer
Yeah.
as a hot mess express still.
Hot
And
Mess
Dana, let's
Express.
let's not like remind your audience. I mean, I still work full time. I have two, you know, rambunctious young kids, right?
Yep.
Like this is, I know it's not easy when you decide to go
Yeah.
for whatever you decide to go for. But what I will say is that
Hmm.
when you make the decision, you will find a way.
When
You
you
will find a way. Everything. I can remind my kids about this, and I think this is actually a book, and I don't know the
Mm.
author. Everything's figure outable. You can figure
That
anything
would be
out.
Marie Forleo. She wrote Everything is Figure Outable because I met her in San Francisco and she did. Yeah, it's a brilliant book. And she was talking about a little radio orange that she grew up with and it broke and she had to figure it out. I mean, there's so much about the book, but yes, everything is figure outable. Not for that little side note
Yeah.
there, but this is the deal. I always say, married to the process, divorce the outcome. And universal laws in my book is it's none of our business how it's done. It's our and you are a shining example of everything I teach, of showing up, trusting the process, making the mistakes. And there's someone I coach at Billionaire, and he got stuck somehow. People aren't stuck, but mine's just like last little analogy. But he said, now he's back on course. He says, by the time I've already closed the deal, by the time the other three competitors are trying to figure it out and strategize, I've already fallen on my face 3 times and closed the deal. Make the mistakes. Keep the and when we make the mistakes and we oh no, we just keep expanding. We're like, oh, I could have done better. And when we know better, do better. You are a shining
Yeah.
example of that. Erika Rothenberger, where can people find you? What's next? Let's close it up, wrap it up, share with everyone what's going on.
Okay, so you can always find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook. Would love to connect with you. Would love just to hear your story. Would love to know where you want to activate your audacity. That is one of the most
Mm,
beautiful things that I could hear from you after this podcast, that Dana could hear from you, knowing, hey, listen, this was the catalyst to make you
yeah.
go and take that small
Yeah.
action. Use that 333 method. So I would love for you all to go and grab a copy of the book. I would love to invite this audience to my
Mm.
summit next year, October 16th, outside of Philadelphia, 2026. It's going to be phenomenal and even
And
more
what's the what
audacious.
what is the name of it again?
The Audacious Woman Summit.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just telling them
Yes.
again.
Yep.
And we will have all the links, all the deets, all the information. And if you have any questions, reach out to us because I know how accessible you make yourself too. And I,
Always.
yeah.
Always.
Hey,
So let's leave here with deciding that we are going to just light 2026 on fire. We are going to activate our audacity, whether it's hard, whether it's easy, whether it's fun. We are just going to do it and make the decision instead of waiting on the sidelines and
mm,
wondering, because if not you, who? And if not now, when?
when? Oh, beautiful note to leave it on. Thank you. Thank you for showing up with your full heart, with all the information, for being willing to share your story. I know it wasn't easy, but you are just victorious in how you choose to live your life. And
I so
perfectly perfect.
appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Oh, I appreciate you. All right, Erica. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. And until next time, you're going to want to download this one, listen to it over and over again. I know both of us, Erica and I, we talk very fast. This is our energy, but you're going to want to like download it, slow it down, replay it, because I can guarantee you there's gold here. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, everyone. Bye for now.